Hello viewers, in this class, I'll be providing solution to this question on the board. The question reads, the British gold sovereign coin is an alloy of gold and copper having a total mass of 7.988 grams and is 22 karat gold. The first question is for us to find the mass of gold in the sovereign in kilograms using the fact that the number of karat is equals to 24 multiplied by mass of gold divided by total mass. So which means for us to calculate the mass of gold, all right, we are going to use this information. We are provided with this information that the number of karat is equals to 24 multiplied by mass of gold divided by total mass. All right. Now the second question is for us to calculate the volumes of gold and copper respectively used to manufacture the coin. Then C also is for us to calculate the density of the British sovereign coin. Very simple question. Now here is a step-by-step way of solving this question. Now the first thing to do is, now let's write down the given values. Okay, now we are given, first we are given the total mass. Okay, we are given the total mass. So the total mass is 7.988 grams. Okay, then we're also given that the number of gold carat or number of carat, okay, number of carat is 22, which is what we have here as 22 karat gold. Okay, now we're also given the information that number of carat is equals to 24 multiplied by mass of gold divided by total mass. Okay, all right. So to calculate the mass of gold, now let's express mass of gold in terms of number of carat and the total mass. So we can say that mass of gold is equals to number of carat, when we make it a subject of the formula, mass of gold, number of carat multiplied by the total mass, okay, divided by what? Divided by 24. So with this now, okay, it makes it easier for us to what? To calculate the mass of gold. So to calculate the mass of gold, we have number of carat. Number of carat is 22. So we can say that mass of gold equals to number of carat, which is 22, multiplied by the total mass, which is 7.988 grams divided by 24. Okay, so let's get a value for mass of gold. 22 multiplied by 7.988, that would be 175.74. so that will be 175.736 divided by 24. This will be in grams. All right, so we have that divided by 24. Okay, that will be 7.322. So we can then say that mass of gold equals to 7.32 grams. Now in kilograms, because we are asked to calculate the mass of gold in the sovereign in what? In kilograms. So that means we have to change this to kilograms. So we can say that mass of gold will be 7.32 over 1000 grams multiplied by kilograms over grams. So the unit that will cancel out. So we'll be left with, so we now have mass of gold to be equals to 0.00732 kilograms. So this is the mass of gold in kilograms, which is the answer to the first question. Now the second question is for us to what? To calculate the volumes of gold and copper respectively. So which means in this case, because we know that the British gold sovereign coin is a what? Is an alloy of gold, and copper. So we want to know what is the volume of gold and what is the volume of copper. So when we know the volume for each, okay, that will help us in answering the third question. All right, so now B, we want to calculate the volume of gold, okay, then volume of copper. Let's have it this way: volume of gold, okay, then volume of copper. Volume of copper. Now, to calculate volume of gold, of course, we know that mass density can be expressed as the ratio of mass of a substance to its what? Volume. That's mass per unit volume of a substance is what we know to be mass density. Now we know that, now let's recall, okay, density is mass per unit volume. So which means to be able to calculate volume of gold, so we can say from here that density of gold will be equals to mass of gold over volume of gold. Okay, so we need to plug in the values, okay, for the density of gold and volume of gold. Okay, yeah, so yeah, we are not giving the density of gold. We are not giving the density of gold. Now the density of gold in gram per cubic centimeters is 19.3 grams per cubic centimeters. So yeah, so density of gold is 19.3 per cubic centimeters. Yeah. But now we need to also calculate. Okay, we know what mass of gold is, right? Okay, so we can say volume of gold will be equals to. So when we express volume of gold in terms of what? Density of gold and the mass. So we are going to have mass of gold divided by density of gold. So volume of gold will be equals to mass of gold. Mass of gold in gram. Remember I said the density in gram per cubic centimeters is 19.3 gram per cubic centimeters. Yeah, that's it. So which means volume of gold in grams and the mass of gold in grams. So we have mass of gold in grams to be 7.32 grams divided by the density of gold. So the density will be 19.3 grams per cubic centimeters. So what is 7.32 divided by 19.3? Okay, that'll be 0.3779. All right, so volume of gold will be equals to 0.379 cubic centimeters. This is the volume of gold. Remember, we want to calculate volume of gold and copper respectively used to manufacture the coin. You know, the British sovereign coin, which is an alloy of gold and copper. Okay, when we say alloy means the fusion, okay, of two metals. You know, when two metals are melted, when they are melted into molten form. Now the two metals are now what? When they are melted, they are fused together by melting them. Okay, then the metal that's in molten form, okay, will now be poured into a mold cast and it will be what? It will now be allowed to cool, for some, it will be allowed to cool. So when it cools, all right, it's going to form a new metal which is different from either of the original. So that's when we now have the alloy. That's a new metal will be formed. Okay, so and because we know that one of the properties of metal is what we call fusibility. Okay, they are fusible. All right, so that's why two metals can be melted. When two metals are melted together, they are melted. Okay, and they are now poured into a mold cast and then allowed to cool. It will form a new metal which is different from either of the original, and that new metal is what we call alloy. All right, so now also we want to find out what is the volume of copper. Now to calculate volume of copper will be equals to mass of copper divided by density of copper. So density of copper is 8.96. Yeah, 8.96. So density of copper is equals to 8.96 gram per cubic centimeter. Yes, that's density of copper. So let's now calculate mass of copper. So to calculate the mass of copper, here we have the total mass. The total mass is 7.988 grams. Then we have here that mass of gold is what? Is 7.32 grams. So which means the total mass will be equals to mass of gold plus mass of copper. Yes. So the total mass equals to mass of gold plus mass of copper. Okay, mass of gold plus mass of copper. So total mass is 7.988 grams plus now equals to 7.32, which is the mass of gold, then mass of copper. Mass of copper. So with this info now, we can then make the mass of copper the subject of the formula. So this will be 7.988 minus 7.32. The unit will be what? Grams. Remember, first question is that we should find the mass of gold in the sovereign in kilograms. Okay, that's why that's why when we calculated the mass of gold in grams, it is 7.32. But in kilograms, we have to divide the mass by 1,000 to get the mass of gold in kilograms. Okay, so what is 7.988 minus 7.32? That would be 0.668. So mass of copper will be 0.668 grams. So this is the mass of copper. Okay, yes, mass of copper in grams, not in kilograms. So now let's calculate the volume of copper. Now we have the formula for volume of copper here to be mass of copper over density of copper. And don't forget that you can find out density of copper in gram per cubic centimeters is 8.96. Okay, so which means volume of copper will be equals to mass of copper. Mass of copper is now 0.668 grams divided by then density of copper, yes, now be 8.96 gram per cubic centimeter. So when this value 0.668 is divided by 8.96, okay, that will be 0.0746. So volume of copper is equals to 0.0746. Okay, that will be in cubic centimeters. That will be in cubic centimeters. And this is the volume of copper, and this is the volume of gold. So we can then say that volume of gold is 0.379 cubic centimeters. Then volume of copper is equals to 0.0746 cubic centimeters. So, and that is exactly what we are asked to calculate according to B. That's question B. Now, finally, we want to find out the density of the British sovereign coin. Okay, so to calculate the density of the British sovereign coin, so that means the density of the British sovereign coin, because we have alloy of copper and gold. Now that will be total mass, which will be that's mass of copper, okay, plus mass of gold, then divided by mass of volume of gold plus volume of copper. So, and we know that the total mass is, of course, this is the total mass. Yeah. All right. So let's add these two together. So we can say, see, we want to calculate density of British sovereign coin. The density of British sovereign coin will be equals to the total mass, MT, that's total mass, this guy here, okay, divided by the total volume. So let's get the total volume. Now the total volume will be 0.379 plus 0.0746 cubic centimeters. So the total volume will be, now let's add this together, 0.07446 added to 0.379, that will be 0.4536, that will be 0.4536 cubic centimeters. So this is the total volume. Now let's not forget that the total mass is 7.988 grams. Yeah, 7.988 grams. So density of British sovereign coin will now be this guy, 7.988 grams divided by 0.4536 cubic centimeters. Okay, all right. Yeah, so we're there. Okay, we have 7.988 divided by 0.4536. Okay, so that'll be 17.61. So we can see that, so we have 17.61 gram per cubic centimeters, and this is the what? The density of the British sovereign coin. Remember the density, because the units of gold, volume of gold and volume of copper is in cubic centimeters, and the unit of the total mass is in grams. Okay, and in the question we are not asked to, calculate the density in kilogram per cubic meters, but so that's why I have to leave it this way. So the density of British sovereign coin in gram per cubic centimeters is 17.61 gram per cubic centimeters. The noblest pleasure is the joy of understanding. Bye bye. See you better later.